Hi, I'm Rabbi Elliot Matthias. I am on the board of the Greater Metro West Jewish Federation. I'm also the chair of the CRC, the Community Relations Committee. Quick idea about this week's Torah portion, Tetzaveh. This week we continue the story and the instructions of building the Mishkan, which is the tabernacle. It was sort of the precursor of the temple, the Beit HaMikdash that was built in Jerusalem. It traveled with the Jews through the desert, and it's very interesting. It gets into all the technical aspects of building this tabernacle, the menorah that was there. There was something called the shulchan for the breads, the mizbeach, the place where they would bring different offerings. And it's very technical, but when you look at it a little bit more, you realize that the instructions of the tabernacle are not in a vacuum. They actually represent something much bigger. So for example, we see that this tabernacle had a courtyard around it. And in the courtyard, anyone could go into the courtyard. But once you went a little bit closer into the holy part of the tabernacle, only the priests, the Kohanim, could go into it. And then you got to the holy of holy places, the inner place of this tabernacle, and only Moshe and Aaron, the Kohen Gadol, the high priest, could go into it. Another interesting thing that it tells us is that when this tabernacle was finished, the clouds of glory, the clouds came down from heaven and hovered over the tabernacle. And at night, it tells us that there was fire that came above this tabernacle. And finally, it tells us that at this place, the Mishkan, this is where God would speak to the Jewish people. So what are all these details? These details actually represent something. These three things, the different levels where people could go to, the clouds, the fire, and where God would speak to them, this is all representing what happened at Har Sinai, at Mount Sinai, when the Jews were given the Torah. If we read the details about Mount Sinai, also, all the Jews could only go to a certain part of the mountain, the priests could go to a closer part, and then finally only Moshe could go to a place. We know there was clouds and there was fire, and we know ultimately that is where God spoke to them. So what does that mean? Mount Sinai was a one-time experience, and what the Torah is teaching us is that the tabernacle, the Mishkan, was the ability for the Jews to take the experience at Mount Sinai and take it with them. It didn't have to just be a one-time experience. It's something they could bring into their lives. And there's a tremendous lesson I think we take from this, is that often we are inspired, we learn something, we hear something, say, wow, that's amazing. But then we ask ourselves, wait a minute, what did I just hear? And we forget about it. The question is not only how do we be inspired, but how do we take that inspiration with us? How do we bring it into our daily lives? Create reminders, create ways to reconnect us with that inspiration. That's really what the Mishkan, the tabernacle, represented, to take the inspiration of Mount Sinai and bring it into our everyday lives.